Okay. All right. Well, good afternoon to everyone in attendance. Thank you for participating in our webinar series. We've decided to expand what was initially a uh, one webinar on business planning into a 4-session series. The first, which we held about a month ago, and maybe some of you attended that or participated in that, was an overview of the business plan process from idea to action. The second one scheduled for today at this time is regarding questions and evaluations concerning a business plan. And there'll be two more in the series, which we'll cover in a second. Let's talk a little bit about SCORE. You can read this, but the organization that Tony and I are with is SCORE. We're a nonprofit supported by the Small Business Administration. We have mentors in our chapter, Southeast New Jersey, which covers the area from Ocean County down through Cape May. I'm in Cape May myself, and our mentors are uh, proficient in a number of different industries and are available to help you with your business, whether it be in a startup phase or as your business is growing and progressing. And there's a significant amount of resource available through the SCORE websites for a variety of business topics, in particular, quite a bit of material on business planning as well. So if you have an opportunity, check out our website and take a look at what we offer. And you can also register for our emails and consider signing up to get some help with a mentor. So back to our webinar series again, as I mentioned, this is number 2, session 2, evaluating your idea. And the question is it a solution to a problem? And the focus here is to try to get an understanding as early as you can in your process of business planning as to whether or not your idea and your concept is valid, and does it get you to a go or no go decision. One of the things you don't want to do as you contemplate starting a business is spend a significant amount of time and effort on something that perhaps is not going to work. So we don't want to be negative necessarily, but you rather have that answer earlier rather than later. Um, so our session today is going to focus on these areas. This is a bit of an overview. Does your idea make sense? You want to be able to describe your activity in some depth. And again, we're focusing on trying to reach a go or no go decision. What questions should you be thinking about and asking yourself as you put together your business idea and your business plan, and then generating answers to those questions is very important, because that will give you enough information to make a decision as to whether you proceed or stop, in effect. The third session, session 3, which we're going to hold in about a month, this focuses on research and analysis. So it identifies where you can find research sources and information, helps you identify the areas that you should be researching for the particular business you're in, how to gather data and information, and then how to take that information and analyze that. And that analysis could be very scientific and very technical and very statistical, or not. It could be a much simpler activity to be able to identify, are you in the right location? Will you be able to access the right number of people in your target market? Those kinds of areas. And again, always working towards, do we go forward or is it time for us to stop? And session 4 is on the financial forecast and break-even aspect of the planning. This is as you come to a bit of the end of your planning process now. You need to understand what sort of cash you'll require to start the business, and not only to start the business, but also to run the business for a period of time until your business becomes cash flow positive. So if you are going to start a business on January 1st, that does not mean that in the month of January, you're going to generate profit. Maybe it'll take you 2 months or 3 months or maybe even a year. And while your business develops to that point, you need to make sure that you have enough cash available to you to be able to get through that period of time. I always recommend that people look to a forecast or financial projection of at least 3 years, also in some detail, maybe not monthly for 3 years, but certainly for the first year, it should be monthly. And there's a number of reasons for that be included in a plan. One is it's very helpful to you as the starter of the business to understand that, particularly how much cash do you need to bring to the table to get this thing going. But also, if you talk with lenders or investors or potential employees, having a financial forecast that justifies their participation in your business is of utmost importance. As we start to think about planning, I've shown this slide in the first session as well. It's helpful to generate information off a checklist, like what kind of information are we attempting to put together? Fairly straightforward, but take a minute and go through it. Defining your business is extremely important. So what product or service are you going to sell? Where are you going to sell it? How are you going to develop the product or service? Are you in the retail business? Are you in the service business, transportation? All of that is very, very important. So you can write in some detail a good, extensive description about that business. Logistics is a category. I've included a bunch of things here that you can take a look at. And I'll just mention that all businesses need to be registered, either in the state or the county that you're in. And certain types of businesses also require particular licenses or permits, particularly for looking at food service. There are health regulations, et cetera, that need to be addressed. All businesses today have to have a web presence and social media. It doesn't matter if you sell things through the internet or on the internet, you still need to have a presence. That's very important. What resources do you need? Are you going to have to buy equipment? Do you need supplies? Do you need computers? Do you need space? Do you have to rent space or buy space? And then besides your own activity and your own participation in all of this, what other support do you need? Do you have the skills and experience necessary to start and manage this business? You need to start to keep records of activity and transactions, not only financial records, but also records about customer contacts, purchasing information, that sort of thing. And you may need outside support. We use the phrase bail, bankers, accountants, insurance, and lawyers to help you along the way. SCORE, of course, is also available. What sort of compensation are you looking to get out of the business, and in what form? I also like to focus early on with insurance so that you can mitigate perhaps some of the risk associated with getting involved in a business. And then, are you able to financially support this? Do you have the funds to do this on your own? Will you need support from a bank? Will you have to raise money from friends and family? Or will you need to go to some investment group or company to help you along the way? And this is important because you want to start a business. If you want to start a business, the one thing that you don't want to do is be very, very close to reaching that point of success and run out of money. That's the worst thing you can do. What is a business plan? It's a written document. It doesn't have to be 50 pages. It can be significantly less, as long as it covers a variety of areas. Where are we now? Where do we want to go? How do we get there? When do we want to arrive? So time-bound plans are very important. We need to have checkpoints, milestones. So whatever our progress is, we can measure, are we successful against that targeted schedule? Who will get us there? Can you do it on your own? Do you need outside help? Can you afford outside help? What will the whole thing cost? We've spoken about that already a bit. What will help us accomplish the plan? Do we need to have some specific resource or somebody who can assist us in various things? Maybe we can understand operating a business, but we're not so good at marketing and sales. So we may need some help in that area. Strategy and goals to keep our progress online and on plan. What are we expecting? Are we going to make money? Are we not going to make money? Is it going to take us a bit of time to get to the point where we have some cash flow? And then how do we measure results? And that's sort of the scorekeeping or record keeping. And that's primarily going to be financial type information. Okay, I've used this slide in the first presentation as well. When we look at a business plan, there's it's kind of jumbled. I mean, it's confusing. You see, there's a lot of arrows going back and forth. It's somewhat of an iterative process. And people look at this and maybe get put off a little bit by, what appears to be something that's significantly complex. I'm reminded of an old joke about how do you eat an elephant? And the punchline is one bite at a time. It's that we can everyone still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Neil.
Okay, thank you. I had a little flash here and I wasn't sure if I lost audio. What we're going to focus on in today's session is two areas of this. One is the ideas and the other is problems and solutions. So ideas is really the basis of definition of our business. And problems and solution is a very important way to look at the validity of your business and predict whether it's going to be successful or not. And that is, do you have a business that's going to solve problems? And one example would be if your business is going to develop a cure for cancer, that's a significant problem, and you have a significant solution. But you may have a more generic or simpler problem, and that is you're going to provide gray T-shirts of good quality at a reasonable price, so that you're the solution to the problem of I want to get a gray sweatshirt at relatively low cost and good quality. So you're going to solve my problem as a customer. And I think that's an important thing to think about. What are you bringing to your market that's going to solve your customers' needs or customers' issues? These are the sections of a business plan. We'll go through them a little bit, but today the focus is on the description of the business and the marketing plan. And this is where the questions and the appropriate answers come into play in the early stages of putting your business plan together. A key section of the business plan is the executive summary. My suggestion here is that you put your plan together, and then when it's done, you go back and put together a 1 or 2 page section of your business plan, which is the executive summary. In large corporate environments, when companies put business plans together and they're looking for outside financing, sometimes the executive summary is the only thing that your potential lender or investor will read. For a smaller business, that's not necessarily the case. But you want to think about this executive summary the same way you would look at or think about what we all refer to as the 90-second elevator speech, which is you have an opportunity in a short and concise method to describe your business plan. These are the components that I would include in that. So it not only talks about the business, it talks about the outcomes, talks about the people that are involved. This is a very important part of the business plan. In the description of the business, and I've used 3 examples here throughout this series. So if we look at a service business, a business is a gym, where's it going to be? What kind of a gym is it? What is the target market? What kind of services will you offer? What sort of equipment do you need? What kind of staff do you need? What are the hours? What are the rates going to be? You can go on and on and on. And all of those questions need to be asked, and all of those questions need to be answered. Retail business, my example in that is the sale of ski suits for children. So, what's the demographic? What part of the population skis? Where do they live? How many children are skiers? What's the market for ski suits? What are the quality requirements? What about branding? What about quality? Again, a variety of things to think about. How are you going to sell those suits? Will you do it online? Will you do it through a reseller, Amazon or Etsy? Will you do it with your own retail space? Will you open up a shop in Cape May, perhaps to sell ski suits? I'm not sure, that's exactly the right venue. But if you're in New Jersey, you're probably not going to have a shop next to a mountain that you can ski on. There aren't too many, and most of them are in North Jersey. And then a manufacturing business, in our example, there is cell phone cases. The idea here is they're sort of high-end leather cases that are of better quality than what you might get in the Verizon store or what we can order online when we get our new iPhone. They might be engraved. They may have some design features. So it's not. It's more of a high-end product, and it is a manufacturing business. Now, whether you personally would do the manufacturing or whether you shop that out, that's a different situation. But you have to worry about the supply. You have good quality leather. Are you going to make it for every single phone model, or just the latest iPhone? Many businesses just focus on, whatever the next Apple product is. That's a large enough market. So these, again, are all questions associated with that particular business or with that business that you need to ask yourself and get the answers to. Okay, so now we're going to get into some examples of the kinds of questions that need to be asked and certainly also answered. There are questions that are appropriate and need to be considered regardless of the specific type of business that you're going to get into. You see, does the product and service fill a need? Will the consumer, my customer, pay the price that I'm contemplating? Can I differentiate my business and my product and service from my competition? Do I have the right experience personally to manage this? Do I need to get help? Certainly, is there a market and can I make money at it? That's pretty important. And then the other questions we were sort of breaking down into the typical who, what, where, when kind of scenario. And I have some examples, brief examples for each of the 3 businesses that we've talked about. You will notice that there's a lot of similarity here. I mean, there are generic questions that apply to all businesses, but when you get down to the individual examples of businesses, there's similarity to the questions. And there's only, I guess there's some limited number of items that we need to understand for business, and there's some repetitiveness from one type of business to the next. So, who is the market? Who are the people that we're looking to sell to in these three different cases? You can see a little bit more of the writing associated with that. And then, what is the business? Ski suits, are we focusing on a type? I mentioned focus might be on children's ski suits. I found out that all ski suits are not waterproof. I didn't know that, but that's the case. And I did know that all ski suits are not necessarily insulated. So, you learn things as you get involved in asking the questions and trying to locate and get the answers. Okay, where? For gym, location, pretty important. Ski suits, if you have a physical location that you're selling them from, that's important. If you're selling them all online, location is going to be important in the back end of the business. If you're making them, if you're importing them, if you're, where's that business or where will that activity be located? Not necessarily connected to where the customers are, but certainly important, connected to the process of how you develop those suits and, put together all of the stuff that you need to be able to be successful in selling those. Phone cases, where, again, same kind of thing. If you're going to sell it through an outlet, maybe your business could be located any place. But when you start to consider manufacturing or subcontracting these things, location could be important. Maybe you need to be close to a good source of leather or a tannery, or, all of that should be identified and considered. How are you going to do it? Marketing plan for everything is important. And that's the highlight of this session. We have a couple of slides later, or one slide later, that gets into a bit more detail on this. The key thing is to identify population statistics are very helpful, and the geography of that is very helpful, and also, other demographics. And one might be that should be considered is probably levels of income. So one could say that people who are buying ski suits for their children, where the family are, they're all skiers, they probably have a level of income that's, at some stage enough where they can afford to use or have skiing as a hobby. Gym membership, the same thing. Phone cases, I identify this as sort of a higher end market. So by nature of the product that's being contemplated here, that also may have some sort of an income level requirement. So knowing the income of the population in a certain area, in a targeted area, is going to be very helpful too in many cases. Okay, so now we haven't exhausted all of the questions, but we've provided a fairly representative itemization of those. And now let's look to, how we would evaluate the answers to those questions. So for a gym business, pricing is actually very important. It has to be competitive. People spend a certain amount per month in a gym, not necessarily just their monthly membership fee, because they may get involved in courses and training and things that are available at the gym that have that's an expense higher than the membership. Customer service is always pretty important. So wherever you touch your customer, whether it be online or in a retail store or in a gym, that needs to be an environment where you're helpful, I'll say. friendly is good too, but you need to be helpful. And developing a sense of community involvement in a gym business is also important because you want people to come take classes, their interaction with other people in the gym. Many people in the gym kind of head down, maybe watching the TV or have their earbuds in, but there may be some camaraderie, and you want to sort of promote that. So people will come for classes, and they'll come because they like the people that show up every morning at 7 o'clock to the gym. Don't mind spending time with them. Ski suits, customer service again pops up. Now we get into a little bit more elements. Branding is one of them. When you're selling clothing in the United States, we're all look at labels, and having something that's recognizable that people can relate to is not a bad thing. And developing your marketing around that brand can also be of some value. People do remember branding. They do remember your logo. They remember, the buzzword, or how you identify your product in one sentence. So in ski suits, that becomes somewhat important. Cell phone cases, again, branding could be an issue here. The manufacturing, this is a manufactured item. Are you going to do it yourself? Are you going to do it with a staff of people? Are you going to subcontract it? How will I, as a customer, put in my order? Will I be able to pick and choose, the color, and if I want some engraving, or if I want some logo imprinted on it, or some scene imprinted on it? How's that all going to work? And in the case of an item like this, delivery is important. So you're going to commit to a delivery date, and you're going to use a method of delivery. Now you can continue to use UPS as of this morning, as I read the paper. But in any event, this is all part of how you would evaluate this. So now let's look a little bit at the marketing plan, and what is generally going to be considered and included in a marketing plan. So you can go through this. We certainly would want to have what are our marketing goals? What is the situation? What's the industry? What's the economic impact on that industry? Identifying our target market demographics and psychographics. I put the definition of that. I've heard that term, but it's relatively new to me, so I thought it would be helpful to identify, what that is. And then there's the SWOT description. Now, SWOT is a technique, an analysis technique that's been used for a very long time. And in the startup of a business, it's not a bad thing to add to how you develop your marketing plan. And it is those 4 components. So you identify your strengths, your weaknesses, what the opportunities are, and what the threats are. Some of those relate to their internal, like their functions or activities or descriptors for your own business, inside the 4 walls of your business, if I use that analogy. And some are looking to the outside. So threats generally are going to be competition, alternative products, regulations that may affect your business. Opportunities are, what else can you sell? What other services can you offer? How can you try to expand the sales value for each customer touch? Those sorts of things. But that helps you clarify how you put your marketing plan and then sales plans together. And the rest of the marketing plan, objectives, strengths, tactics, deadlines, timelines are always important. You can go past your scheduled time for a particular activity or a particular level of sales, and that just kind of burns money, right? So it's pretty important to hold your feet to the fire with respect to deadlines. Uh, if you have more than one person involved in your business, it's pretty important to assign responsibilities to each of those people, or even to yourself. If you're kind of a one-person show, budgets, financial controls, are important. Having some sort of methodology to be able to measure your progress in your marketing plan is important. You want to be able to look at results and kind of calculate the impact so you can review and go back and perhaps modify. So there's a lot involved in this process. So now, we've put together our business idea. We have a good description of it. We know what we want to do. We've asked all the appropriate questions, both generic and specific to our business. And we've tried to gather answers to those questions as best we can so we can make an evaluation, moving towards, is it a go or no go? And time to talk a little bit about what we would refer to as a feasibility analysis. And that is, do you have a core competency? I mean, does your business do something that is a good indication of potential success? So is it a valuable to, because it's a large revenue generator, so your business has value because you have a large market, you can sell a lot of product or service at a reasonable price, and the value is really in that sort of size. It's almost a multiple of some number. Are you solving a problem or providing a solution that's not commonly available? Is it rare? Not sure what that might be, but that can give you sort of a leg up. The same thing with, does somebody else have a product or service that can substitute for yours? So if yours is unique to some degree, that's also a chance. It also becomes kind of a core competency and gives you a higher chance of success. And then higher barrier to entry. So if you're in a business that costs $1 million to start, you have the funding to do that. That presents a hurdle to somebody else who may be thinking about entering your business. That may not apply to small businesses, but certainly something to think about as well. So you need to have a point where you're proving your concept and you identify a preliminary target market and you get feedback from them. So, large companies have panels of people that they bring in to survey, and they ask a bunch of questions and show them the product or talk about the service. In most cases, small businesses can't do that, but you want to try to get your product or service to a small group, maybe up to 20 or 30 people, where you can get feedback from them. So it's a case of, what do you think about the quality of the product? Is this something that you would buy again? Would you recommend this to somebody else? Is there something unique about this? What caused you to come to buy this product or service? And start to get that feedback, which gives you the ability to rethink a bit about your business and your business process, and how and what you want to do to reflect that. And, then you have to sort of contemplate, stop and think. And does it make sense to go forward? Do you need to reevaluate your idea? Do you need to create a new aspect of your idea? Maybe the cell phone case idea, which is, seems to be a reasonable idea, but maybe after you talk to some people that have had the experience of buying and using and touching those cell phone cases, maybe they come back and say, it's very nice, but it's really just not worth the money. I just need a bumper guard on my phone so when I drop it, it's not going to smash into pieces. Or it's nice, but it's just not that easy to get my phone in and out of. It just adds another, weight to my lugging stuff around every day. There's a lot of feedback you may get. You may get positive things too. They really like it. It does protect. It's different from everybody else's. It fits my phone very well. I like the way it operates. I like the quality. It looks good, all of that. So you want to take all of that information into account and make a determination as to the feasibility of your business going forward and whether or not you have the right idea, whether or not it's going to be successful. Is there a market, or do we need to modify, make some changes, rethink a few things, and make a better product out of it, or provide a better service, or something that's more marketable? Or I suppose in the worst case, on the negative side, when you get this information, this feedback, and you go through this kind of feasibility analysis, and you come to the conclusion that this is really not a go situation. It's a no, it's a stop. Doesn't mean that you can't go back and try something else, and you can take advantage of whatever you've learned in the process up to this point. But for the particular idea and the particular business that you initially had in mind, this is kind of a gut check or a wake up call that you need to sort of think about or do something else. Okay. When you reach a conclusion, this is a list of things, of elements that I put together, which I think identifies, how you would reach a conclusion or how you'd be able to make an evaluation. Some of it, you've got, of course, the description of the business. You have the questions associated with the market. And then you have the second two columns are the other elements that are of importance here. I think all of which we've kind of touched on. And I've highlighted 6 or 7 of these, which we're going to spend a bit of time on to kind of provide some examples for the gym business, which is, one of the things that one of the 3 businesses that we focused on. I'll give you a second to read this. I don't know if I need to talk through this too much, but the categories from the prior slide are who, where, and solution. And we've gotten rather specific here. So we did some research. We identified a location that is a real location in New Jersey. We got some statistical information surrounding the typical gym member. None of this has been made up. So, it helps us by defining some criteria around our business decision. And then we continue that by identifying some factors on the market size, pricing. Pricing, this is really not necessarily a price that we're generating, but more what's more typical in the market. So we're not trying to establish a new pricing level. We're looking at the reality of what a typical gym member spends per month. And we've put together some projection on the basis of this information, and let's spend a minute on that. So after an initial period of time, some number of months before you reach a level of membership that supports this, but you could get up to with 500 members a monthly revenue of about $25,000, and to operate a gym to accommodate 500 members a month, You'll need a facility that's about 7,500 square feet. And the cost to run that facility, and this would be a rented facility, not one that you would own, pardon me, is $23,750. That includes some labor costs for some staff that you would need. It does not include any remuneration for you as the owner. So you have a monthly margin of whatever that is, $1,250. However, to start the business for equipment and leasehold improvements, where you have to go into that rented location and make sure you got the bathrooms and the showers and locker area and the snack bar and all that stuff. And that's an investment of about $175,000. So, given that, is this a go or no go business? I won't answer that question. You can, but this is sort of, it's simplistic in a way because it doesn't have tons and tons of detailed information, but the information that's here kind of represents the methodology of how you would come to a conclusion. And you're going to have this sort of data when you complete the work for your own business. And at this point, is this a business that you want to go forward with or not? Okay, just as sort of a kind of getting to the wrap-up point here. So reasons for success, reasons for business failure. You can read those. Customer is always very, very important. You want to use your time and effort on activities that are generating results. Just a couple of words here. Sometimes people get involved in businesses, and particularly if they try to do the whole thing on their own, and they may focus lots of time and effort on things that they really don't know how to do. And therefore, it takes them a lot longer to get those things accomplished. So you want to make sure you take your effort on the things that are productive. And you also want to make sure that you don't get caught up, which we all do, it's human nature, on spending time and effort on things that are really not that important. Maybe the things that we like to do, or, let's knock off the 3 things on our to-do list that we know we can get them done in 15 minutes, and then we'll tackle the big thing that's going to take us a couple of hours to do. So just as a sort of a side note there, and then planning is double-edged arrow there, but successful businesses have good plans, and businesses that fail generally have poor plans. Okay, so today was the questions and evaluation session. August 23rd, sorry, I think it's at noon, is our next webinar in this series, and the focus will be on research and analysis. And then the 4th session is feasibility, forecasts, financials, and break even. And that's scheduled for September 27th, also at noon. So I don't know if there have been any comments, but if anybody has a comment or a question, I think there's a way that people can add to a chat. Tony, is that
we're going to
correct?
use the chat. We're going to use the chat function
Okay.
for questions. So we do have a question. Will the later sessions be recorded if we can't attend live? Yes, we're recording all the sessions. We are posting them on our YouTube channel and as well as on our website. It takes a couple of days after to do all the editing and everything else that needs to take place, but they will be up a day or two after the presentation. And as always, we send out a copy of the slides to all of the attendees probably the next day, if I can get to it. So I hope that answers your question, Colleen. We are using the chat function if anybody else has a question. Okay, another question. Oh, Thank you. You're welcome, Colleen. Anyone else have any questions? We'll just wait a minute to see if anyone has anything they would like to add or ask. Neil, in the meanwhile, thank you very much for doing the presentation.
You're very welcome. Yep.
Thank you, everyone, for attending. And we certainly look forward to having you on the next session. I think the next session gets into a little bit more in the numbers area, and you should really be able to quantify at that point where your business could be headed. So I'm looking forward to that session myself.
Okay, just a final note here. We have radio sessions on business topics that we sponsor through one of our members. It's on WBNJ 91.9. Depending upon where you are in New Jersey, you may not be able to get that directly, but you certainly can look to their website and find a list of SCORE presentations that have been recorded. There's a pretty good library of those, and they're about a half hour each, I think. And you may find topics that are of interest to you. There's quite a bit about business development and business planning. So we'll put in our pitch for that. And I'd just like to thank everybody for attending. I have to find another graphic there. I'm not sure that exactly hits the mark, but nonetheless, I appreciate your time and appreciate your participation. And hopefully, as Tony mentioned, you'll participate or you'll be involved in our next sessions for business planning. So
Thank
that's
you
it for
very
me.
much, everyone.
Okay, thank you. Yep.
Take care. Bye.